At fresh to gusty southwesterlies will reach nearly gale force in coastal areas there too. Cold with overnight lows of 1 to 4 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
All right, you're welcome along. It's Thursdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. We have a packed show coming your way. John Giles, as always, at 7:30. At 8 o'clock, we're going to hear from Peter Crouch. He is doing okay post-football. He's got a prime-time TV show. He's got an insanely successful podcast. And he's doing a whole lot of other stuff as well. So we'll chat to him about that. And also, of course, get his thoughts on what's going on at Liverpool. A bit of reflection of his time at Anfield. And we'll talk about Gareth Bale's renaissance at Spurs as well. So that's coming away after 8 o'clock. We will hear from Micheál Naughton, who is the LGFA president and new in the job, about his plans for the next 4 years. And also talk about the fallout of that All-Ireland semi-final. And then on the football show, John Hartson is going to join us ahead of the North London Derby. It's live and off the ball this Sunday afternoon. And we'll talk to Vinnie Perth as well, who's going to give us a bit of insight into the pro licence, which has obviously been very topical around Dundalk this week. Vinnie had his own issues around that during his time at Dundalk, what's involved in it, how hard to get on it, and just the general coach education structure in Ireland as well. If you have any thoughts on that, 53106 is the text number. You can get in touch on social on @OffTheBall. Will O'Callaghan is with us this evening. Good evening, Will.
Evening, lads.
And Joe Malloy is there as well. Good evening, Joe.
Nathan Murphy, hello.
Have you got a new house or what's going on here? Are we allowed to ask?
You're allowed to ask. I've got a different background. I'm just playing around with things. I forgot I left it on, to tell you the truth, but there we are.
It's not a very exciting background that you've got.
Well, there's only 3 options, and I picked the one I like best.
No, there's not. There's any amount of background options on Zoom. Go for some fun kids thing, Joe. That's like random office block building.
I'm on Skype here. I had 3 options.
Okay. What's going on in your real background that you can't show us is what I'm really interested in. What's happened to Kevin Kilban?
Oh, he's okay. He's okay. He had an accident. No, there's nothing going on. It's not very well lit.
Okay. All right. We'll take your word. I won't ask any more questions, Joe. I can tell there's something going on. It's fine. You're a bit nervous. Move on. You're given that look.
I'm not, genuinely. I will undo the fake background in a moment. Rory McIlroy is where it's at, though.
Wowzers. So, yeah. I switched on after we finished up on Golf Weekly, which is now exclusive on Patreon. So get on to otbsports.com/Golf Weekly. You won't get it anywhere else. Where obviously we did a bit of a deep dive, a regular, maybe about 40 minutes on Rory McIlroy and some of his problems last week at Bay Hill. Finish up with that, switch on Sky, and Rory puts 2 balls in the water. Dear God.
Yeah. Wasn't good. He started on the 10th with double bogey, where he double crossed himself. He was trying to hit a fade and he sent it way left. So that was a bad start, double bogey. He then had another bogey 3 holes later. That was his front 9. Until he got to the 18th, his 9th hole, where he had a quadruple bogey, as you said, into the water twice. There were echoes of the 6th at Bay Hill, where he hit the water twice on Sunday. Driver initially, water to the left. And then an iron. He went water again with an iron in his hand, and it was his 3rd off the tee. So dismal front 9. He then had like 2 birdies, and you thought, okay, bit of a recovery, promptly followed by 2 bogeys, and he bogeyed the final hole. That is a round of 79, Nathan. His worst score since Portrush, actually, and in PGA Tour events, it equals his worst ever round. One of the most worrying things for him as well was, aside from the swing woes, he 3-putted not once, not twice, not 3, but 4 times, 34 putts in total. So, look, we knew over the last couple of weeks, because he's been talking about it, and one of the great things about McIlroy is he's so open. He's feeling very uncomfortable with his swing. It's not his usual pattern. You know, every golfer is fighting some miss or tendency, and Rory will often bring the club on the downswing from the inside. It's the opposite of that now. So it means he's totally out of funk. You know, he has a lifetime of feel built up with his other patterns. So he's really uncomfortable. And I'm sure on the driving range he can grip it and rip it, because the man is a genius. But PGA Tour golf course with water and pressure, it has not been so easy over the last couple of weeks. He missed the cut at Riviera 2-3 weeks ago. The Players is not going to define him, as we know. He's the 2019 champion. The Masters in particular, and the majors will. And unfortunately, the Masters is coming into sharp focus. And listening to him of late, as you know, as we've heard, he hasn't been talking about this as a trip to the driving range, I'll sort this out type situation.
He's been talking himself down. I rarely heard McIlroy talk about himself in this way. He is very open, which we can question in one way because, and why would we? It's brilliant to have it. But Rory has done 3-4 interviews since last weekend and goes in depth into his problems in a way that few other sports people do, and maybe he feels it's a way, it's almost therapeutic, of just getting it out there and maybe it'll help him work through this. But he's generally very positive around his game and figuring things out. This does seem as though it's a bit more, I don't want to use the word crisis, but that he doesn't seem to see a quick fix for what is going on. This two-way miss that so many golfers have had issues with through the years. And we are within the final month countdown to the Masters. So to have gone from Portrush to a fortnight ago without missing a cut, and now you would have to expect missing 2 cuts in a row unless he goes and does a typical Rory thing and shoots 62 tomorrow and somehow manages to make the weekend. But he's not going to win this tournament this week. And yeah, it's worrying because he just looks totally dejected. I was making the point of I wouldn't be surprised, and maybe I'm totally off on this, if he just decided, I need a little bit of a break. I've got a young child at home. Actually, a few months off would just do me the world of good. The problem is the calendar's so cramped right now. He can't really do it for the next 3-4 months.
That's 4 majors you miss, and possibly the Ryder Cup as well. It's in, he said the other week, in a perverse way, it would be easier if I was just playing terribly. Like last week, he shot a 66 in the first round. That's why he was in contention on the Sunday. And then the good stuff is really good. And then he said himself, when the bad stuff is happening, I'm thinking to myself, well, what is going on here? So it's tricky. I mean, it's hard to imagine he'll stand up on the tee box at Augusta with total confidence at the moment. We'll see. Look, he's a streaky player.
But he has stood up in the tee box at Augusta as the most confident player in the world, and it hasn't worked out for him. So maybe the massive lowering of expectations will work in his favour. That very few people are going to be, unless he turns it around the next 3-4 weeks, thinking Rory's going to go there and complete the career Grand Slam, and it works in his favour. He's always interesting. It is the one thing with Rory. It's never straightforward. There's in the top 10s, there's a problem somewhere along the way, or there's genius somewhere along the way. And that's why we do spend, if you sign up on Patreon, you're going to get yourself a good Rory McIlroy half an hour pretty much every week.
It's true. Like you said there, he's done a couple of interviews over the past week and talked about his game very openly. There's every chance that lots of golfers have done that. We just don't really care that much.
Bob is wondering, who's in the worst slump, Liverpool or Rory?
Liverpool.
Well, the great thing for Rory's slump is that if he has one good week, everything else is forgotten about. Liverpool, no matter what happens between now and the end of the season, it's going to be a disappointment. So,
well, they could win the Champions League, Nathan.
Well,
Steph
they could, of course, win the Champions League. I want to thank Will, first off, because if Richie McCormick was here, we'd be getting some sniggering, some sort of, he'd be in a huffing and puffing, talking about golf again at the top of the, even you got your own podcast. But Will, you just sat back and you thought, you know what, I really enjoy this. This is why Will has signed up to the Patreon, because he just enjoys this. Go on, Will, what do you think of Rory?
Yeah, I watched a reasonable amount of it this afternoon. I mean, obviously twice hitting the water on the 18th was the killer when it seemed maybe that he was pulling things around about halfway through his round. As Joe mentioned then, he gets 2 birdies in 3 holes. You start to think maybe if you get in at 4 over par, 3 over par, it's not going to be a huge amount of damage because nobody had really stretched any kind of lead at that point. And then McIlroy's putting was just all over the place. And even on the last hole, like he misses a putt from about 8 feet and ends up having a bogey and he goes to 7 over par. It looks really tricky for him to make the weekend at this point. And then it's compounded by the fact that a few players are now starting to put in good scores at the top of the leaderboard. Among them, Sergio Garcia, who's in as the clubhouse leader now at 7 under par. Like I was listening to Lee Westwood just before we came on air. He was doing his interview after his round of 3 under. He described the pin positions as smelly today, and he reckoned that there won't be too many good scores. And at that point, I was kind of thinking maybe for McIlroy, you're going to have a lot of players around level par. But now you look at the leaderboard, and it seems that there might be a few decent scores out there among the evening starters. Shane Lowry has started reasonably okay, 1 under after 2 holes. Graham McDowell is in the clubhouse at 1 over par. He was 1 under at one point. It was a pretty steady day for the former US Open champion. But McIlroy's defence of the title is entirely over. And as you say, probably twice in 3 weeks now, he's going to have the weekend off.
Yeah, it's a sensational round of golf from Sergio Garcia, 65 on what did you say? Like, Rory had a terrible day with a 79, and it's still not the worst out of a group of elite players as you go down that leaderboard and see Henrik Stenson shot an 85, Ben An shot an 83. So Rory wasn't the only one who struggled out there, but to do that, a 65 in those circumstances is outstanding from Sergio Garcia, who won this tournament a long, long time ago. Brian has texted into 53106. Rory needs a break. Give me a break. All he does is take breaks from golf to reset or recover or re-find his motivation. Do me a favour. He needs to man up and hit the shots. That is some tough love from Brian there.
Anyone who uses the phrase "do me a favour" just reminds me of the Richard Keys blog. So for that, I'm supportive of that text.
The problem with Rory is that he's consistently inconsistent. Spieth or Lowry are brilliant when they're on hot streaks, so you forgive their downturns, but Rory just seems like the kind of player who should be delivering all the time. He's hard to watch these days, says Niamh. I think you could almost put Spieth towards the McIlroy level in terms of expectation. I don't think you could with Shane Lowry. So there's an acceptance that Shane Lowry will turn up every so often and perform well. Like if Rory has 3 weeks outside the top 10, he's in crisis. Like that is the level of expectation he has to deal with all the time. Rory has missed a cut. He's had another bad round. Like Shane Lowry didn't play well at all last week. His putting has deserted him. Nobody's mentioned it. We are not doing a deep dive into what is going on with Shane Lowry right now. Rory McIlroy, because of all he achieved, and this is what haunts him all the time, achieving so much so young, we're looking at him now with 4 majors and we're disappointed. We want more and we want him back winning those majors again. So I don't think there's a forgiveness there. I don't think there's anything there that really is comparable with Rory or pretty much any other player in terms of expectation.
No, he won 4 majors in 2011 to 2014, won 2 in 2014. I mean, those 4 majors, if McIlroy had won 1 major every 3.5 to 4 years across a 12, 13-year career, it would just be incredible. You know, it's very difficult. The ceiling for him was astronomically high. I mean, we started off thinking, well, it's going to be double figures majors. And now it's probably back to, well, can he pip Faldo for best European? And, you know, these are unbelievable ceilings to have a golfer from this little island, you know, in that kind of stratosphere. So, as you said, the scrutiny with him is like very few others.
If you want more of this, lots more of this, do get on to Golf Weekly. Not only do you have myself, Joe, Fionn, you have Peter Lowry pushing the boundaries of the defamation laws in this country on a regular basis as well. So get on to golfweekly.com or offtheball.com/golfweekly. You can sign up there. You'll get the guaranteed podcast every Thursday, extra pods around majors, guaranteed extra pod if Jordan Spieth wins, which we've been somewhat nervous about over the last few weeks, and watch-alongs and loads of other great stuff as well. And you can get in on the Discord channel where there's sort of live watch-alongs every night. So there's a load going on there, and it's been brilliant to see so many people signing up and supporting it over the last little while. Where do you want to start, Will?
Well, we mentioned the golf scores so far, but just a reminder for anyone who's just tuning in, Rory McIlroy having a nightmare start to his defence of the Players' Championship. An opening round of 79 at Sawgrass sees him 7 over par after the first day. Graham McDowell signing for a 1 over round of 73, while Sergio Garcia is the clubhouse leader by 3 strokes at 7 under par. Shane Lowry's out on course currently playing his 3rd hole. He is 1 under par. It's been a good day for Ireland's Sam Bennett as well. He's continuing his good form from last year's Tour de France. He's won today's 5th stage of cycling's Paris to Nice. The Carrigan Show rider claimed victory in a sprint finish in Bolène to claim what's his 2nd stage win of this year's race. Bennett now has a 9-point lead in the points classification, and he's thanked his Quick-Step teammates for keeping him in the green jersey.
I didn't think I'd hold it to the line, but the guys did an incredible job, and I'm just proud that I could finish it off.
You mean the sprints here are a little bit different to what they normally are?
Oh, it's getting... Yeah, for some reason, I'm not left to follow my own wheel, and guys are coming in, and it seems like they just want to disrupt our sprint instead of concentrating on their own race. And we don't look at anybody else, so I don't know why they're getting so fixated on us.
Maybe you're just too strong.
Maybe not me, but my teammates are too strong, yeah.
But still, this is a very good Paris-Nice, 2 victories. That's far more than maybe you were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy to get the first stage. I was really, really disappointed the second sprint day, not to get closer and not to really compete that day. So I really wanted to make up for it today, and it's brilliant. I can't thank the guys enough.
What's the focus now? Is it Paris-Nice or is it a race in Italy after this one?
I think from now it'll be a bit of a strength and conditioning till the end of the race, and then San Remo, hopefully.
Yeah, it's just been relentless success for Sam Bennett over the last year or so. Just to let you know that all this week we're giving away a €300 Aldi voucher to celebrate Mother's Day, which is on this Sunday. It's all with thanks to Aldi, who are making a donation to Bernardo's every time you buy one of their Mother's Day cards. They're hoping to raise 20 grand this year. Aldi have 145 stores nationwide with everything that you need to say thanks to your mother. To be in with a chance of winning that €300 voucher, just identify our famous sporting mother. Here's your clue. This British former marathon world record holder won the New York Marathon just months after giving birth to her first child in 2007. Text your name and your answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We will contact the winner after the show. It's all with thanks to Aldi. Treat your mum to something special this Mother's Day. I've already been told, Joe, it would be frowned upon to try a repeat of the Valentine's Day trick with the old bouquet of flowers, so don't even think about it. Your mother would be listening.
How did that work out for you? Because I didn't get those flowers.
Worked out great for me, Joe, because I obviously went and purchased them for my wife. Of course, that is exactly what happened there. Europa League is ongoing. Manchester United gone in front, Will?
They have. They've just taken the lead. It's a first goal for the Red Devils for Amit Diallo, the former Atalanta teenager who would have played against AC Milan in Serie A. He's just shot United in front. Milan did have the ball in the net in the first half, but the goal was disallowed due to VAR. So United lead on the hour now by 1-0. It's 1-1 currently between Slavia Prague and Rangers in the Czech capital. The host went ahead in that one, Nathan, early on, but Philippe Helander equalised for Steven Gerrard's side. It continues to be 1-1 with 32 minutes left in that one.
Yeah, Ahmed Diallo, 18 years of age. They spent 25 million up front, could rise to 40 million. Came on at half-time in place of the injured Anthony Martial. That is how you make a name for yourself at Manchester United, Joe.
Yeah, very impressive. In fairness, they do as a club, and it's a little bit roll the eyes when you talk about traditions of clubs, given how ownerships change and how managers change through the years. They are a club that do promote, for a big club, they do give younger players a chance. That is pretty impressive, yeah.
What else you got, Will?
Well, Tottenham and Arsenal are in action in about 40 minutes' time, lads. And Tottenham boss Jose Mourinho says he wants to bring silverware to the club. They're already in the League Cup final. They continue their Europa League quest when they take on Dinamo Zagreb in the home leg of their last 16 tie at 8 p.m. Mourinho says a first trophy since 2008 will be a nice way to particularly mark Daniel Levy's 20th year as the chairman of the club.
The work is undeniable. The club is a big club, big club in many aspects. Very, very well organized in many aspects, and that's an incredible work from him as the big boss in here, but from the whole structure that works with him and works for him. So I don't think sometimes it's fair to judge just on the trophies, but trophies are the salt and pepper of football, and I would love to, not just for him, for the players, for the fans, for everyone. I would love to help for that to happen.
Trophies are the salt and pepper of football.
They sure are. We had Martin Lipton on last night, who's obviously real Spurs expert amongst other things, and we were both just remarking on how different Jose has been this year in terms of his demeanour. It's not least when the slump was on, and traditionally when that slump is on, one of his go-to methods to create some energy is, siege mentality, but also just attacking the owners, conflict, picking out a few Luke Shaw types to gang up on and ostracize and just make the whole place feel a bit miserable. Whereas this year, it's been so striking. Right in the midst of that terrible slump, he was out in the pitch high-fiving all the players, even after some disappointing results, and the pressure was on. He talked about what a great attitude they had, never criticised Daniel Levy for a lack of resources. He has either grown up and matured and reflected on his time at Manchester United and figured that approach doesn't work anymore. Or maybe he figures, you know what, my stock isn't even as high as it used to be. I can't act out like that as much anymore. But regardless of the motivation, it's actually very different Mourinho this year.
Was there not a bit of that with the way he's treated Dele Alli, with the Gareth Bale comments for a couple of months before? Obviously, listen, he could claim that's worked now.
Yeah, no, the Dele Alli one for sure. The Bale thing, who knows? I suspect he probably had good cause with Bale. I mean, there was a couple of occasions where you suspect Bale just didn't trust his body and was crying off, and all the sports science was saying, look, you just need to take the leap. And Mourinho said that actually last week, that there was a psychological barrier. He just had to push through it. The Dele Alli one, fair enough. He has tried to meet with Ali. I mean, we saw it in even that documentary a few times and said, you don't train well.
Yeah.
Like, the Dele Alli case is interesting, and it's a real pity as well.
We are going to talk about Gareth Bale, by the way, with Peter Crouch, who was obviously a teammate of Gareth Bale when he sort of saw in probably that first 18 months at Spurs the change in Gareth Bale from the player who couldn't win a game to the taxi from Icon game. And he was saying how he interviewed Bale at the start of the season and how Bale was just buzzing to be back and couldn't wait to play and was so excited and was just the complete opposite of everything that's been said about him over the last few months. That it would go along with what you were saying, that his body just wasn't up to it, or he felt his body just wasn't up to it. So Peter Crouch coming up just after 8 o'clock. You can tune into that. From Jerry, questioning the Leipzig manager, has he no brains at all? All he had to do was copy the system of the last 6 Premier League teams. Liverpool are poor. They were just given so much room at the back. I guess the issue for Nagelsmann last night, Joe, is that they don't play like that. They don't sit back week in, week out in the Bundesliga. So why would you change your system completely for one match? Like, in hindsight, yes, but that is like, in a way, you are. It is a copy of what Jurgen Klopp is doing. These managers have their system and they do not want to change it.
Yeah, I don't accept that one. I couldn't believe the way they played. It was so poor. For me, it leaves a massive question mark over Nagelsmann if he's that rigid and that wedded to a system. They couldn't have created a better situation for Liverpool. Like, how many times Salah had a chance over the top, then Mane came in afterwards. Jota had a couple of chances. Like, I mean, it was dream stuff. It was an absolutely dreadful performance on Nagelsmann's
They're also
part.
just not that good this season. I watched them quite a bit during the group stage.
They're better than Fulham.
Yeah, they are. But if you're used to playing one system, like this, is this not similar to the questioning of Bielsa for the performance against Manchester United? That you don't get the good if you're constantly changing your system just for the opposition. That actually Leipzig will win the vast majority of games playing like that. I do get your point that it cost them last night, but in general, it'll do them just fine.
No, I hear you.
The real challenge
I would just say, though, like sorry, go ahead, Will. Go ahead, Will.
No, I was just going to say, next year's going to be the big challenge for Leipzig, though. Like, Timo Werner, while he hasn't exactly lit things up for Chelsea so far in the Premier League, under the system where Leipzig were playing, he was so crucial to them stretching teams last season. And then basically their next best player in Upamecano is about to go to Bayern Munich. So they've had their best attacker taken in one season, their best defender taken in another, and some other players who've been doing quite well, like Angelino at the club, could well end up going for pastures new. There's a very good chance this Leipzig team, despite having the money of Red Bull behind them, are probably going to be ripped to shreds. I think they probably overperformed last year, and we're now seeing a team who are on the decline because those players were put in the spotlight and now they're going to disappear.
Well, yeah, I would just say the one thing they couldn't afford to do was concede, and yet they play this crazy high line. There's not enough pressure on the ball. It's not like you're asking a team who usually sit back to go out and play in a completely different way and try and emulate Man City. You're asking a Champions League team to watch the Fulham game and a couple of other games. Let's sit deep, let's get compact. We can sort that out in 2 or 3 sessions, work on our shape, and we'll try and hit them at set pieces or maybe the odd counter attack. And if we nick one goal, who knows what could happen. But I mean, what they went out and did was just madness.
We got to leave it there. Joe, thank you.
All right, lads.
Back to your beautiful sunlit apartment of this Thursday evening. Will, thank you as always.
Thanks, lads.
All right, so John Giles coming up in just a moment. After 8 o'clock, we will hear from Peter Crouch and then John Hartson on the football show. We keep an eye on all the Europa League and what's going on in the Players' Championship as well. But John Giles is up next.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
At Energia, we're proud to be the power behind Irish rugby and proud to keep bringing you great savings. To save the most, the best tactic is always to go direct to Energia, and you'll make your biggest savings when you switch to our cheapest dual fuel bundle. Always play it direct.